After 18 years, there's still no end in sight and little to show for what is now America's longest war. The conflict has dogged 3 US administrations, and their messages have shifted with public opinion.
Great nations do not fight endless wars.
He wants out, and he thinks the exit is through talks with the Taliban. So how close is the United States to a deal? Well, there's been a series of unlikely meetings at a luxurious resort in Qatar. At the negotiating table, both sides agreed on a framework for a peace deal. The US would withdraw international forces from Afghanistan, and the Taliban wouldn't allow jihadist groups to operate in the country. And as for the Afghan government, well, they haven't had a say because they've been shut out of discussions. Afghan officials are furious. They say the talks legitimize the Taliban and undermine their authority.
These guys have blood on their hands. It is a shame for world order to bow to terror. Let's put it simple.
Do you think the United States is right or wrong in leaving the Afghan government out of talks?
So the longer the Afghan government is held out of the direct negotiations, the larger the problems I think it encompasses. And frankly, when you look at past successful negotiations, you had to have the government sit down with insurgents to hammer out the vast majority of the details. And until that happens, it's hard for anybody really to say the prospects for a successful settlement are high.
So what happens if the United States and the Taliban reach a deal, but the Taliban still refuses to speak to the government of Afghanistan?
You don't really have a peace deal at that point. What you may potentially have is a situation where the US is essentially creating this fig leaf for withdrawing from the country.
The US envoy recently spent time in Afghanistan trying to smooth things over, and now the Afghan government has set up a council that plans to exchange views with the Taliban in Qatar later this month. Elections in Afghanistan were supposed to take place on April 20th, but in order to give peace talks a chance, they've been postponed until September.